Hello, everyone. Today I want to give my raw and honest opinion of One Piece 971. I'm going to try to be as free-flowing as possible. I know some people don't like the way I do videos sometimes with jump cuts. It's just sometimes when you're recording, some people have the talent to just do one take. I don't have that. So certain moments where I pause and I think about things, I cut it out. And I present content the way I like to digest it. However, let's try something different. I'm going to try to be as free form as possible, whereas limited jump cuts, just to give you guys a glimpse of what it's like. And if you guys enjoy that format better, you can let me know. So yeah, One Piece 971. Obviously, I made a review of the scans that came out on Friday. I was supposed to do a video on Sunday, but yeah, that didn't happen. So here, I want to just compare and contrast a little bit with the scans and the official, where off rip, spoiler alert, things weren't that different. I think the scans did another great job. I would say the scans, they leave a lot more open to interpretation as opposed to the official, because the scans, it's like they're translating and they're giving it to you like as raw as possible, where the official, they're kind of breaking it down and trying to understand what's being implied, then paraphrasing in a way that makes the most sense for English readers. So both, I think, well, the scans this week I think were good, because when I read the official, not much changed. I needed clarification for I think two things. One being the ship, the other being the how many people Oden saved by dancing. So things got clarified with the official, but the scans did another good job. So again, I read the scans every time they come out, but I implore you to also read the Viz, which is on the Viz app or the Shonen Jump app. And it's, I believe the recent chapters are free. But if you want to go further back, the 3 recent chapters are free. If you want to go further back, you have to pay for it. And it's not that much at all. It's like pennies almost monthly. So I really suggest or recommend you get that. But to the chapter, again, it's not much to add from what the scans did opposed to the official. But I always give my thoughts based on, after it sits with me for a while. And I guess I can say that it's not that bad of a chapter. Okay, initially I didn't say the chapter was bad. I said the chapter was good. Upon rereading and different things that I've learned from different people, like the inspiration for Oden and Oden being in the boiling pot and holding his scabbards up, that added some impact to the chapter for me. And I know in my last video, I initially said Oden was in water. If you watched a bit further, you could see that I clarified and said no, or corrected myself by saying no, it wasn't water, it was oil. So I think that's even more impressive, that the oil feet in the water. And at some point this week, this week or next week, I plan on releasing like a ranking or the top 5 greatest endurance feats in One Piece. I think it's apt at this point. So moving right along. Yeah, this is weird. This is really weird trying to basically one take it. I'm going to cut some stuff out, but it's a lot more difficult than you think. Okay, so all right, the conversation around the chapter, I think maybe it was a bit more chatter around Oden and his decision than I heard about the actual chapter and things that transpired. Like the main thing people are talking about right now is, did Oden make the right decision? And I don't think that's something you can just take a screen cap off of one chapter and judging off the conclusion of Oden holding his scabbards up and say, no, right? You have to go back and reread, digest the material in a different way, because hindsight is 2020. So I think it's unfair to judge someone off a decision that they made without knowing all the details, without knowing what would transpire. However, you can come to the conclusion already that Oden, he died because he was naive. Naivete, I guess, is something that all humans are plagued by. Everybody has been naive in their life at some point. And if you aren't now, it's because you were naive at one point and you learned from it. And I think that's the thing, that's the issue people had with Oden, or have with Oden, is that he didn't learn from being naive. So again, the main thing I want to get across here is that I view Oden as a really good person. I think he's a genuine person, a crass person. That's the word that comes to mind. But he has a good heart. And that was implied from the first time we got introduced to him. But it's even more apparent now. People are kind of jumping ship. Some people are, from how they persecuted Oden to how they view him now after that great feat. And that happens in the community from time to time. Some people actually have doubled down and say, well, this just adds to Oden being uninteresting and hyped up for no apparent reason because we knew he was going to die in the first place. I obviously don't agree with that. I do think Oden fulfills a purpose here. He gives us the motivations for the Scabbards, and now we more so understand why the Scabbards are willing to go to the lengths that they did, because Oden did everything he could for them to survive. Obviously, this isn't the end. We know a fight breaks out. We know Denjiro and Ashura Doji fights Kaido. We know they ran back to the castle. They got transported. A lot of things happened after this. So once we get that, then we can make a better decision. So I don't want to drag this out too long, but a few things I want to point out from the chapter that was clarified in the official. One being the cover page. No, I don't care about the cover page. I literally stopped reading the cover page because it's going nowhere. And as interesting as the Capone family was in Whole Cake Island, and I wanted to learn more about them with Vito and Gotti and those guys, now it's just useless exposition. But I guess that's the cover stories. That's what they've always been. And I normally try to read them in totality, but this one, it's just been going on too long. So I was joking. I'm definitely not trying to clarify the cover page. What I'm trying to clarify here is what I said like 2 chapters ago about Oda wanting to make us feel like his audience. Like what's said here in the chapter is, like, again, what's been echoed throughout the community about Kaido's strength and Oden's strength, but also the traitor stuff. The fact that they jumped into this thing, right? Does that rule out all the Scabbards? Like, if I'm the traitor, right, and I'm one of the Scabbards, they tell me to jump into this pot. I assume that it was going to be one by one. I don't remember exactly what it said, but I do think that it's easy to look at this and rule out the Scabbards, but we don't know how it would have went down if Oden had jumped in after Oden boils, then the next person, the next person, the next person. Then Kaido would have chosen, the person that's the traitor to go last. So I don't think it rules it out at all. Next thing is the ships. At first, I thought it could be something with the Void Century. It seems like they were saying the ships were being built for Kaido and Orochi and them to leave Wano, which is weird. It's like, I reread it a few times to make sure I'm understanding what's being said. Like, they're saying, let me go back to it really quickly here. He trusted their promise that 5 years later, they would agree to sail away from this country when they were done building their ships. Okay, so with the 5-year thing, right, where he was dancing, and now the clarification where for every dance he saved 100 people, that's an exorbitant amount of people. So that's understood. However, he went to the capital all the time to make sure things didn't change. Did you check on the ships? But with the ships being built, again, Oden's naivete, it's his undoing. Because how could you trust them to sail away? Like, after they build all this stuff, they're just going to sail away from Wano? Why? What's the incentive there? So again, I'll go deeper into another video talking about Oden and his decisions, but that just really shocked me that he would just believe them. Is this something Luffy would have done? Would Luffy had sacrificed himself in this way to save a lot of people? Of course, people always talk about this method, right? Where you go the route of saving many by sacrificing yourself, as opposed to duking it out at the time and then, things lying where they lay. I'm not sure how many people have seen Fate Zero, but Fate Zero, Kurisugu Emiya, he struggled with that as well. Well, he always mostly chose the route of sacrificing some to save many. So if Oden is in this situation, right? What could Oden have done better to figure this out? Of course, in hindsight, it's like just challenge Kaido as soon as you get back, which would make more logical sense because of everything that happened to your family beforehand. So I think Oden's character is going to come into question even after we leave the flashback, the entirety of Wano, because of the ultimate outcome that Wano ended up suffering anyway. So yes, in hindsight, he did not make the right decision. But with what Oden knew at the time, could you surmise that he made a noble decision? But that's the thing, right? Where sometimes the noble decision isn't the decision you should make. Sometimes you have to quit being a pacifist and be more radical, because some conflicts cannot be resolved through pacifism. And that's always been an ongoing debate, because some people feel like no matter what, you can figure it out by talking. People like Naruto, who feel like you can figure anything out by talking about it. No matter how upset you are, no matter what the issue is, you can figure it out by talking. I don't agree with that at all. Sometimes you gotta just fight. The ship thing was weird to me. Another thing was interesting, that was Orochi, right? Before that, Oden saved a lot of people. So I don't know if you can't even doubt his decision at this point. He saved 100 people for every dance, and he was dancing for 5 years. So he saved a lot of people. The translation cleared it up as well, or maybe I missed it. It talked about Orochi offering tribute to Kaido like he's a god, I guess, of weapons and people. I mean, it makes sense where the slave trade, that's something that's going on today. So Kaido being invested with this because of his, and with his affiliation with Doflamingo, it's like, all right, I get it. But Kaido was a savage. He's a different individual. Now, I think building Kaido up to be this villainous person is trying to drum up the conflict for Wano as to why Kaido has to fall here. Like, Kaido is a despicable person as well as Orochi. But I find it interesting with Orochi, right? He is upset at Wano, of course, adhering to its cultures and basically shunning people who've been dishonored. So the Kurozumi, they were dishonored because of the things that happened in the past. So with them, anybody who's a Kurozumi, they're hunting down. That's a microcosm of what happens outside of Wano. Because if you guys remember, like Ace and Nico Robin, well, Nico Robin is a bit different. She wasn't being hunted down because of her last name per se, but because of what she knew. Ace was being hunted down because of his bloodline, just strictly because his dad was the Pirate King. It happens outside of Wano, but inside of Wano, imagine being a kid whose family had been dishonored. And I find it interesting that some of the scabbards, they've suffered from that as well. So I don't know if when Orochi was telling Oden that, he saw the issue with it, so he somehow, I don't know, where he felt for Orochi, where he made decisions that he knew he shouldn't have made. But Orochi, right, he is trying to rid the world of Wano because of what happened to him when he was a child. Like, he was traumatized. But he's doing the same thing to Momonosuke that he did not like was done to him as a kid. So it's like a circle of just evil or destruction that no matter what is going to continuously just go around if it's not broken at some point. So with this, I don't know if Oda's building this up, this conflict, to eventually have Momonosuke spare Orochi, because then that breaks that curse. If he then kills Orochi, it's just like continuing that cycle. Those are small things that really struck me when I was rereading the chapter. And I read it a few times because it's a really good chapter. Like, Oden's sacrifice, it's up there. Again, that video will be coming, but Oden, I really liked him from introduction because of how much Oda was hyping him up and how just amazing he was. But then his fall from grace, then to be back where he is now. Some people feel like he's irredeemable. Some of the things he did. I never quite felt like he was that far gone. So I really like Oden. Okay. Now to the inspiration that Oda had for Oden. So the story is about Ishikawa Goemon. He was a semi-legendary Japanese outlaw hero who stole gold and other valuables to give to the poor. He and his son were boiled alive in public after their failed assassination attempt on the Sengoku period warlord Toyotomi Hideyoshi. It shows Goemon being boiled in a pot and he's holding his son above him to try to save his son. So that's obviously what Oda was going for here, but I think a bunch of characters are tied into that. The character that comes to mind is the Witching Hour Boy, where they're stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. So I'm not sure if this is a hint as to who the Witching Hour Boy is. I do have like theories on who I think it could be. It's like 4 or 5 people on who it could be, in which it's very strong reasoning for each of these people. I don't know exactly, but I have people, I have a ranking for that, which is coming as well. So, again, I don't want us to drag on too long. It's a good chapter. I expect next chapter, it wraps up the flashback. Maybe we may have 1 or 2 more chapters, because you have to finish out the hour. Then something else happens, because I believe at some point, old man Hyogoro pulls up. He has to, because Kaido, they knew of his strength. Queen and those guys, they knew of his strength. However, they did kill his men or his wife, so maybe they encountered him before, but I expect Hyogoro to pull up at some point. And then we have the whole conflict going back to Oden Castle, Kaido versus Denjiro and Ashura Doji. So certain things have to happen, and I think it makes sense if it happens in 2 chapters. Judging by the pacing, though, I would not be surprised if it was in 1. A lot to digest from this chapter, but all in all, the question that I have from this chapter for you guys is, what do you think of Oden's decision now, right? Again, hindsight is 2020, so I know everybody's going to have a perspective or vantage point that is probably the best one, but with what he knew, what could he have done differently, and what things did he do well? So give me your thoughts on that, and make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.ace. Again, be sure to like and subscribe. I shall catch you guys in the next one. Peace.